Okay, so how did MrBeast grow his channel to over 70 million subscribers? What is it about him that makes him so popular? And how does MrBeast consistently get so many views on each and every one of his videos? Well, according to MrBeast himself, it all comes down to just two things: having a high click-through rate and having a high retention rate. That's it. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. The truth is it's simple but not easy. Easy things usually require little to no understanding in order to accomplish them. Do this. Okay, you did it. Now, simple things do require that you have some understanding in order to accomplish them. Do this. How? Oh, here's how. I get it. Hey, you did it. And that's where this video comes in. I'm not just going to show you how to make better thumbnails for your YouTube videos or how to make better YouTube titles. Quick side note, those things are important to have a high click-through rate. But I'm going to show you exactly what he does, how he does it, and why it works so you can implement these tactics in your videos as well. And what I'm going to be showing you doesn't just work on YouTube videos, okay? This works in any types of sales and marketing, regardless of who you're marketing to or what you're selling. Whether it's a service to a business, a product to an online community, or you're selling yourself to another person. So let's get into it. Now, I am 100% sure that there are people watching this video right now that know they have good videos on their site. They know they have high quality. They know they give value, and yet they are not getting anywhere near the amount of views that they deserve. While you consistently see a new Ryan Trahan video with at least a couple million views and a MrBeast video on your homepage with over 30 million views, and you're like, why do these videos have so many views? Here's why. MrBeast videos speak to the most primitive part of your brain, okay? The reptilian brain, or otherwise known as lizard brain, also known as instinctual brain, okay? They're all the same thing. You see, our brain is actually kind of divided up into 3 layers. The newest layer, which is the most outer layer, which is our neocortex. This is the newest part of the brain. This deals with rational thinking, solving problems. It's basically what's helped us evolve. Now, the second layer, which is a little bit more inward, is the limbic part, okay? The middle brain. This deals with our emotions. This has to do with empathy for other people. That's really important. But the oldest part of our brain, which is the one that's closest to the center of our brain, is the reptilian or lizard brain. This is our instinct. This has been with us since we were cavemen and cavewomen, cave people. And there's actually 7 ways to hack into somebody's part of the brain to speak directly to this reptilian or lizard brain. And we're going to be breaking down all of them as we go through MrBeast's titles and thumbnails and some other key factors that help him have longer watch times as well. Okay, so first let's focus on how MrBeast titles his videos so you can see how he is speaking directly to the instinctual part of your brain. Now, the first thing I want you to notice is look at how short his titles are, okay? This is common across the board in every single one of his videos. His titles are very short. In fact, those of you watching this right now, how long do you usually keep your video titles? Do you usually keep them as short as possible, or do you really try to max out those characters? I'm very curious about this. Please let me know in the comments section below. Now, MrBeast has actually gone on record and said in multiple interviews that he tries to keep his video length under 50 characters because that way, when you see it on mobile, there's less chance of any of the words getting cut off, which makes sense. But there's actually another reason why it's really good to keep your title shorter, as that helps speak to your reptilian brain. Because look, our reptilian brain is not as developed as the rest of our brain, okay? It does not understand complex sentence structures or complex words. It needs things to be as basic as possible. Not to mention our primitive brain understands images a lot better than it understands words, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But just know that if you want your titles to speak to the primitive part of the brain, then just keep them as simple as possible. Think of it this way: could a 5th grader read and understand this title easily? If that answer is yes, you're off to a great start. Now let's look at some real MrBeast title examples so you can see what I'm talking about. So first up, let's look at the first 2 or last 2, okay? Right here, in just the first row alone, just the first 5 videos, he has last 2, first 2, last 2. Why is this so important, okay? This is the first way to hack the reptilian brain, okay? This focuses on the beginning and the end, okay? Because the reptilian brain doesn't understand the process, okay? It gets confused by that. It only stands beginning and end. Now, he not only uses this in his titles, he uses this in his videos too. For example, this one right here, I'm not going to play it because I don't want to have any copyright issues, but this one literally starts off with him saying, this is one of the dirtiest beaches in the entire world. That's the beginning, and here's the end. And we're going to pick up every single piece of trash on this beach. That's the beginning and end. Right in the first 10 seconds. Actually, I think it was more like the first 5 seconds of the video. He literally told you how this video was going to start and how it was going to end. So now your brain is almost forced to watch to make sure it lives up to that promise. These next titles all fall under the same brain hack, which is appealing to pain points. Okay, this is a big one, guys, because most people's pain points fall into 3 categories. Okay, survival, money, and food. Okay, so where does he use this? Well, right here, he uses it. I got hunted. Hunted, okay, that's survival, talking to the primal brain. I survived, again, survival, talking to the primal brain. I bought, that also has to do with money, okay, another thing that we need for survival. I ate, okay, again, survival, you need food to eat. By the way, it should be fully noted here that anytime he puts a $ into a title, that is speaking to our primordial brain. We recognize that means money, so there's money, again, is for survival. So he could easily put 500 million or 500,000 without the dollar sign in there, but he's putting it there because he knows that that is a symbol our brain recognizes that stands for money. That's important to our brain. Now, this last title hack, I feel he uses in almost every single one of his videos. And yes, a lot of these examples, you can use more than one hack. If you can stack them on top of each other, that makes it even better. Almost every single one of his videos, like, would you quit school for $100,000? Would you sit in snakes for $10,000? Offering people $100,000 to quit their job. Videos like, would you rather do this or that? All these things, first two, last two, like we talked about tipping or donating to people, all those things fall under the same hack. And I want to first explain why this hack works so well first before I tell you what it is. Do you guys remember Deal or No Deal? Okay, it was one of the most popular games, and you don't need to have any skills or knowledge to win. You don't even have an opponent, okay? It's just you, Howie, and a briefcase. And a bunch of hot girls in sequence dresses, but I'm not supposed to remember them. Now, if you watched like I did, you probably picked a briefcase at the beginning of the game just to see how you do. You wanted to see if you picked the right one. And if you didn't win, you wanted to see what they picked to see if they won. We basically live vicariously through these contestants to see how we think we would have done. And this is all related to the third brain hack, which is what's in it for me, okay? Appealing to our self-centered nature. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and focus on MrBeast's thumbnails for a second, just to see how he's hacking into our lizard brain here. And going back to simplicity, he keeps his thumbnails focused on three key things most of the time. Usually, he doesn't have a lot of stuff going on, okay? Like, look here, for example, it's just him and the beach is behind him. Car and people around the car. Him and money, and yeah, there's a little bit of a bank vault in the background. Money in the background, imminent danger with falling. He tries to keep it very minimal, okay? And again, this speaks to our primordial brain. This has to do with contrast, which is usually keeping it very minimal, like 2 to 3 things. A lot of times it's before and afters, again, going back to the beach one, because our lizard brain actually does a lot better when there's not too many things to focus on. And you'll have to notice that in a lot of his thumbnails, he does put cars or money in them. Again, those speak to survival. Also, there will be times where he puts food, obviously, in those ones where he's doing that, anything related to food. Basically, he likes to keep things our reptilian brain easily understands, you know, near, far, before, after, pain, pleasure. Okay, so this fourth hack is pretty obvious, but it still needs to be said. Show, don't tell. Okay, so if your title has money in the title, then you better show money. And he obviously does that a lot. He's money here, money here. So he's either going to show money itself, or what he'll sometimes do is show things that we associate with money. Like obviously here, there's a credit card, and then there's a diamond. So all these things we associate with money, giant diamond or money. There you go. Perfect example right there. Just like with appealing to our self-centered nature, I feel like this fifth hack is used almost all the time by MrBeast in his titles and his thumbnails. It's curiosity. So basically, like when we're presented with something, whether it's a movie, a story, a riddle, or a YouTube video, if you get us to a point where we've met the key characters and we know what's at stake, our primitive brain has to see how it ends. And it's not so we can just pound our chest the whole time and be like, I knew Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Oh, spoiler alert. Your brain actually gives you a reward in a dopamine release when you actually get the answer to a problem or a riddle, or you get to see the resolution to a story or problem. And MrBeast is so great at this. He makes sure every character he introduces, he makes sure they're all different types, they all have lovable qualities, so inevitably you will be coming back to see how your person is doing or did. It's basically will Ross and Rachel end up together in a couple subtle different ways.
We were on a break!
Okay, so how can you use curiosity in your titles and thumbnails? It's actually really easy. All you need to do is structure your thumbnails or your titles in such a way that you're forcing the viewer to ask a question. Okay, remember, questions drive curiosity. You want people to ask the basic questions of who, what, where, when, why, and how. Like, who wins? Why is he doing this? What happened? When will the last person leave? How are they gonna do this? Curiosity drives all those questions. Okay, so now let's look at how MrBeast hacks into our reptilian brain to get better retention rate, or otherwise longer watch time. The number 6 hack he uses is using visually stimulating imagery. What MrBeast does in every single one of his videos is he'll use jump cuts, time lapse, graphics, or unusual camera angles and movements. All these things keep your reptilian brain stimulated because it's constantly having new things to look at. And by the way, guys, when it comes to your titles and your thumbnails, please don't clickbait people, okay? I know it can be tempting at times to know that, oh, if I just put this, I might get a lot more clicks and views, and you probably will, but you never want to make it seem like you're going to give your audience something and then you never do, because yeah, you will get that click, you will get that view, but then they're never going to come back to your stuff ever again. Which actually leads me perfectly to the 7th and final hack, which is commitment and consistency, okay? Pure and simple, if they had a good experience last time, they're more likely to come back again. So if they liked your last video and you didn't clickbait them, they'll probably watch the next video. Speaking of which, if you like this video, please be sure to hit the notification bell, because I'm going to be doing more deep dives like this, as well as other videos you might find useful, like this one right here.